So there's something that's been on my mind and on my heart for a few days, but really it goes back a few months to February when this guy came into the restaurant where I've been working and left his phone number on his receipt. To make a long story short, I looked him up and he was the senior pastor of a local church, and I thought, let's see what he's about. So I texted him, and he pretty much immediately just started begging for nudes. He also said that he was going through a divorce because his soon to be ex wife was bipolar and schizophrenic. I did a little more digging, found some unsavory information about this guy, and while the smart thing to do would probably be just stay away, there's nothing I hate more than somebody who uses God and a position of authority to abuse and mislead and manipulate people. So my thought was, can we expose this guy? But the more digging I did, I just found that his church apparently has a history of covering up his behavior, and anyone who speaks out gets stalked and harassed. There wasn't any contact info anywhere for his wife or anyone, so it just seemed like I couldn't do anything at that point. But I think I sensed that there was something more off with the situation, and I checked in on social media a few days ago and discovered that his wife has died. Um, they're calling it suicide, but an investigation has been opened, and there's a lot of speculation that he was responsible. I don't know, but whether or not he pulled that trigger, he pushed her beyond her limit. And I want to say that John Paul Miller and people like him are not the problem with modern day Christianity in America. They are a symptom. The bigger problem is those of you who are enabling and defending people like this and putting them in positions of authority in churches and our government. And now a stunningly beautiful woman is dead. Her name was Mica, and I've heard that she was a lovely person. And I just feel like now I have a responsibility to speak up, and I hope that we can prevent more abuse from taking place.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for being here. I wanted to start out today's video with that video that I found yesterday, thanks to one of my amazing mods, I think is who sent me that. It appears that everything that we suspect about Pastor J.P. Miller is pretty accurate, it seems like. You kind of sometimes think, this is stacking up pretty, this is a little too perfect, but I'm feeling like we're seeing who Pastor Miller is. Of course, we are talking about this lovely late woman, Mica Miller, 30 years old, who died on April 27th, 2024 of a gunshot wound to the head. And I'm not going to bury the lead here because there has been some news that just came out this afternoon, just a few hours ago. Before I do, though, I'm going to try something new today on the live stream because I'm getting so many comments and it's really hard for me to go through them all. I'm going to ask my moderators, Jamie and Autumn, are here and they are amazing. I'm not sure if I've seen any other of the mods there, but if there's some comment that you really want me to read, go ahead and put this. Let me show you. Go ahead and put this in it without the quotes, just GF colon. And that is I'm going to use that as my filter to kind of filter out between what is the conversation going on in the live chat and what is something that you really want to tell me about. Okay, so just GF colon, and I'm going to use that as my filter, okay? And I'm going to put that filter in right now. So hopefully some of those will come in, as you want to talk to me. That's how you do it. All right, let's go ahead and hide that, and then just check in with Autumn and Jamie, and I've instructed them. We like to keep it civil here, so I've instructed them to go ahead and delete and any comments that are not appropriate. Okay, and I see Autumn is already doing her job. Right? And my system just doesn't let them star or favorite comments. And so this is how, if you have a question or if you have a comment you want me to read, that's how you do it. Thanks, Autumn. And yeah, Ellie, you're right. JP got served with papers from Mica's family today, which makes me really, really happy. Thanks for bringing that up. Okay. I told you I wasn't going to bury the lead, and here I am. Lead burying. Here we go. Let me take you over to an article from WPDE by Courtney Rolls. Sorry, this came out at 1:55 p.m. Eastern Time. The cause of death has been released for 30-year-old Mica Miller of Myrtle Beach amid the ongoing investigation. According to Robeson County Medical Examiner Dr. Richard Johnson, Miller died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Dr. Johnson said, based on the nature of the wound, that it is consistent with a self-inflicted gunshot wound, and it was not in the back of the head as it has been speculated. Johnson said he wasn't the on-call medical examiner the weekend Miller died, but he did go to the scene to assist the on-call medical examiner. He also serves as a regional path. Actually, let me just pause that real quick, because those of you who have been on the channel for any length of time know that I've got a couple friends who are medical examiners / pathologists, and while 90% of the autopsy report is about the autopsy itself, the decedent's body and condition and so forth, the opinion is usually about 90% based on the circumstances. So knowing that he did go to the scene to help with that opinion is important. Dr. Johnson also serves as a regional pathologist for the North Carolina Office of the Chief Medical Examiner. Okay, I think that's all I want to share from this document. There was one other. Give me just a second. What I know. First off, let's talk about this for a second, okay? I remember when I was looking at the Grace Holland case, and I brought this up in my last video about Mica. When I was looking at the Grace Holland case, I remember being deflated and disappointed to find out that to come to the conclusion that Grace Holland did it to herself. But upon, consideration of it, it was Robert Dawes who drove her to that. And that's how I'm feeling about Mica. I am feeling that while it's probably true, I mean, I don't have any reason to doubt the medical examiner. And I'm looking forward to more information coming out tomorrow. The sheriff's office said that they would release some things tomorrow. But I have no reason to doubt Dr. Johnson. And so if the scene and the autopsy is telling him and the other medical examiners that this was self-inflicted, then I am going to take them at their word. But all the stuff that we have learned about Pastor, and I hate using that word now, but that's what he is, Senior Pastor J.P. Miller of Solid Rock Church. I think that he bears some culpability. He bears some responsibility. If indeed she did it, which again, I have no reason to doubt it, but if she did that, it is my opinion that he drove her to it based on some of the things that I have read and I'm going to share with you guys today. Lori says, we have known JP for years, started going to Solid Rock in 2008 and went up until just before the affair between him and Mica came out. JP will not tolerate anyone who stands against him. Thank you for that comment, Lori. That reminds me, I have a document that I didn't prepare to, or I didn't bring it up. Let me just come to it real quick so that we have it. Maybe I have it as an image. Yeah, I'll bring that up over here. Okay. So, Lori, I'm going to show a letter that maybe a lot of you guys have already seen already, but this is a letter that was shared on Facebook, a photo of it that was written by J.P. Miller in 2015 after basically he was caught in an affair with Mica. So, dear friends, it's funny how the last series I preached on was tests, trials, and attacks. I can honestly say that I need to re-listen to my own sermons. Man, this guy just gives me the EBGBs, man. Though Solid Rock is going through a big trial, there is light at the end of the tunnel. I failed a test. I repented. I am and will for years to come remain faithful in counseling and have more accountability than ever. I sinned and disappointed you. I wish that I could please everyone who remains upset by paying for my sin, but I can't. I cannot atone for what happened. The consequences of my actions are far more horrific than you can imagine, but I'm not going to turn my back on God. God has given me a gift. He has anointed me to speak his word in a way that draws people closer to Jesus. So he's like, I did this sin, but you know what? Because I have this gift, I really owe it to everybody to just keep going, even though I'm obviously not qualified any longer to be a pastor. But man, I've just been given this gift, so I got to go on, everybody. I got to go on. Just because I failed a test doesn't mean that I'm going to turn my back on God and stop using that gift. I was recently offered a full-time secular job that would allow me to leave the ministry and never have to deal with the shame or embarrassment of what happened in my past. If I took this job, let's remember who's talking here. Let me hide the comment real quick. Let's just remember who's talking here. If I took this job, I would have a more peaceful life with no problems that come with ministry, no headaches, no cell phone. I wouldn't have to stand up and preach God's word while looking in the eyes of people who know of my failure. Well, poor you. Although the offer was tempting, he continues, and though I will most likely take a part-time job on the side as to take care of my family during this season, God has called me to rebirth Solid Rock Ministries. I am asking for your help. If I have sown any seeds in the lives of you and your families for the past 9 years, and if there is a harvest available for me to draw from, now is the season to release that harvest. I am asking you to give me 1 year to begin to earn your trust back and make Solid Rock everything God's called it to be. Starting on August 2nd, we will be going to one Sunday morning service at 10:30 until the end of 2015. Anyone who is willing to serve or lead in some capacity, please meet me in the sanctuary on Saturday, August 1st at 10 a.m. for a leadership servant meeting. As a side note, I'm looking at bringing on a retired minister to help me pastor Solid Rock, as well as redeveloping the structure of accountability. Oh, we're going to get to accountability. Solid Rock will be adding trustees to our ministry. The trustees will consist of successful and experienced pastors from different areas in South Carolina that will oversee the finances of the church, the legal authority of the church, and hold me as the senior pastor accountable for any and all decisions made at Solid Rock. These pastors will be introduced to the congregation over the next 6 months. On a more personal note, Allie and I are communicating every day as we work through our future, and if we had to do it over again, we would not have involved the church in our personal life. This makes it so difficult on ourselves and our children, you poor victim. Reversing, what is that called? Darvoing, right? I learned that from Gazella K. Let's see, it's been so difficult on ourselves and our children. It's especially hard to hear from God when there are 400 voices, texts, emails, and phone calls telling us what we should do. I think those of you who have sincerely prayed, loved, forgiven, and remained on God's side through the gossip meetings, Facebook entries, and I think he meant entries, not entrees, and gatherings. I'm also continuing all the counseling, inner healing, and pastoral counsel that I've been receiving for the next 2 years minimum. For all of you who refuse to let a dream die, a ministry fail, a vision become blind, I hope to see you on Saturday, August 1st at 10 a.m. One of the things that really bothers me about I don't want to lump anybody else in this. What really bothers me about this letter in J.P. Miller is that for some reason, when you do something that horrific, and listen, adultery is a thing that people do. Like, you can be forgiven of it, and yeah, I'm not passing judgment on that. Just the fact that he wants to keep his claws in there. I was thinking about this, man. JP is a musician. He's a talented pianist. He speaks well. He's charismatic. The best way to earn a living is to have a church, even if he didn't believe in God. I remember when I was in Argentina, I spoke with a leader of a congregation who told me in confidence he didn't believe in God, but he had bills to pay. So this kind of stuff just really bothers me. And speaking of accountability, though, let me see if I can find. No, let's see. Yeah, come back over here. This is a letter that was sent out yesterday to members of Solid Rock saying, I, Charles Randall, by the authority vested in me as overseer, hereby release Pastor John Paul Miller from all ministerial functions for a time of healing, counsel, guidance, pursuing to our governing instrument, which I think all came to pass in 2015. I think. And by the way, I will not be surprised, and you shouldn't be either, if this guy is once again leading Solid Rock Ministries after a month to a year, something like that. I won't be surprised in the slightest. Okay. Let's go to a couple of questions. Let's bring Mica's picture up here because that's who we're talking about. Brianna says, Gavin, I wanted to offer this up as a possibility. Mica discussed being given illegal drugs. Is it possible that he didn't lead her to her death and somehow get her to pull the trigger? Yeah. Listen, there are possibilities, and the possibilities are endless. It's possible that she didn't do it to herself. Remember that the Dr. Johnson was very measured in what he said, based on the nature of the wound, that it is consistent with self-inflicted gunshot wound. He doesn't come to a conclusion, and the conclusion won't come for months, probably. I know that we're getting stuff from the sheriff's office tomorrow, but he was very calculated in the way that he said that. Let's go back so you can see it again. Based on the nature of the wound, that it is consistent with a self-inflicted gunshot. So, yeah, I mean, it's possible. Let me bring that back up. Is it possible that he didn't lead her to her death and somehow get her to pull the trigger? I keep going back to Grace Holland on this. Grace Holland was so, in my opinion, mentally and emotionally abused that she got to a point where I think she just couldn't do anything but pull the trigger. And I know that there's been chatter on Facebook about people saying things like, you don't pay your lawyer and you don't make your car payment and you don't get dressed and go to work if you're planning on doing this to yourself. Well, that may be right. It also may not be right because many people do. Many people do get all of their affairs in order, and many people are in one moment looking toward the future with no intent. And then something happens and everything changes. So I'm looking at Mica as a victim of emotional, mental, spiritual, and maybe even physical abuse. And we're going to get into some of the documents here that show that. So I think even if the sheriff's office says no, J.P. Miller is not criminally liable, I think that he definitely is open to some civil liability, which will cost him everything, because the civil, a civil lawsuit has a very low burden, So I hope they go after him. I hope they go after him pretty hard. Let's skip over to super chats here. I saw a few super chats. Brianna, thank you very much for that. Autumn, thank you very much. And I appreciate you saying that about me. I deeply appreciate that. MD 2020, thank you. Domestic violence is death in slow motion. Oh my goodness, that is so well said, MD 2020. It's death in slow motion. This is what it looks like. Whether he physically did it or not, he did it. I blame him and his enablers. Oh, that might be the most profound statement I have read on my channel. Thank you very much, MD 2020. Wow. Yeah, let me just get this filter up again. Okay, let me, before I get into the deep documents, there are a couple of other things that I want to read. Okay, where am I going? I'm going here. This is an article from the Christian Post, published on the 4th. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but there's a part that I highlighted that I want to go over here. In an interview with the Christian Post on Friday, which what would that have been, the 3rd? So the day before this was published, Pastor Miller admitted that his relationship with Mica began with adultery. He said they were both previously married and cheated on their spouses, and many people left his church, forcing them to start over. Hence, I guess, the part-time job. He said he and Mica got married in 2017. Shortly after, she underwent surgery for an undisclosed reason and was diagnosed with bipolar II, schizophrenic, and dependent personality disorder. The reason I wanted to show you this is, like, she was fine until 2017 after they got married, and then she starts to show signs of mental disorders, mental illness. Since 2017, says Pastor Miller, they have been trying to manage his wife's mental illness with lithium and significant support. As long as she took her medication, Pastor Miller said, his wife would be fine. Mica, however, had a roller coaster relationship with the medication. And I'm a reporter, so we have to remember that they are attributing this to him saying that. They're not saying that. They're saying he said that. He recalled how she would complain how the medication would make her gain weight or cause her to slur. And earlier this year, the wife of a well-meaning pastor friend who had no understanding of mental illness offered to pray and believe that Mica Miller's mental illness would go away. That incident, he said, stuck with Mica, and she started to believe that she no longer needed the medication. The amount of gaslighting that is happening here is just, it's off the scale. I took care of her. Oh. Okay, I have to gear up. Hold on. I took care of her every time she went to the mental institute. I took care of her every time she stopped taking her lithium. I would never expose this stuff of her if I didn't have to now, but every time she tried to this, I would be there. I would literally sometimes pick her up physically, put her in the truck, take her to the hospital. Miller said with a slight crack in his voice that they did not have to add. That was crappy that they added that. Well, yeah, if you are mentally and emotionally abusing somebody into believing that they're mentally ill and you're gaslighting them into feeling that way, then I'm not surprised that she attempted this in the past. And this is one of those things, man. The best lies are mostly true. This is an example of the truth that misleads. It's infuriating. The pastor said he took his wife to probate court a few weeks ago to get her hospitalized, but the court stated that she wasn't a danger to others, so she could not be forced. Good for that court. Quote, nobody believed me when I told them that she was having a psychotic break. Well, we're going to get into why she may have been having that psychotic break, sir. We're going to get into that. Okay. She would have never left. She would have never done what she did. They wouldn't believe me. I have 48 text messages that I sent out saying she needs her lithium. Somebody help me, please. And no one believed me, the grieving pastor said. If J.P. Miller is indeed grieving, he is only grieving for himself. He is not grieving for his wife, in my opinion. Everybody thought I was a demon for trying to take her to probate court and get her put in a hospital. I told her family. I have text messages over and over. I told her family she needs her medicine. They told me I'm crazy. She doesn't need any medicines. I text messaged her, but they sent her saying it makes you fat or it makes you slur or you shouldn't take your meds or you should need something holistic. You don't need what the doctors say. Yeah, I don't think that they said that. Though there were some things that Pastor Miller said were discussed with his church, the depths of his struggle with his wife's mental illness felt quite lonely at times. Oh, nobody believed me. I don't even know why I'm continuing to do this. Just to illustrate this guy. Nobody understood mental illness. She was diagnosed by the doctors for the past 7 years as bipolar 2, schizophrenic, and dependent personality disorder, and I was with her every time she thought she was seeing aliens. I was with her every time she thought artificial intelligence was after her. I was with her through everything, and the last psychotic episode she had, she didn't know who I was, he explained. This is reminding me of another case that I need to show you guys. You guys, if you're new here, which a lot of you are, you need to go to my website, go to gavinfish.com, click on cases. I think I've linked it below. You can always just find, it's easy, gavinfish.com, and go down to David Elmquist, okay? David Elmquist was a 24-year-old man who did suffer, and everybody admits it, whether they're on one side or the other of the case, a psychotic break. The diagnosis was psychosis. The issue, though, in my opinion, is that he was married for a very short time to a person who was driving him literally crazy, literally into psychosis. Prior to her, no problems whatsoever, but they had a disagreement on the direction they wanted to take their lives. He was making good money in North Dakota. She wanted him to be back in Minnesota. For the sake of their young marriage, he moved back, and 6 months later, 6 months after moving in with his wife for the first time, he was dead, having been burned to death. But he had a psychotic break. So, when I'm reading this from J.P. Miller, yeah, she might be having a psychotic break. But you are the source, sir. You are the source. My opinion, anyway. Okay. She thought I was the enemy somehow. Yeah. David Elmquist thought that his wife Emily was the enemy too, because she was. Nobody believed me. Everybody thought that she was just normal being herself, and nobody understood. With her mental illness, people understand that she can say a sentence that's normal, and the very next sentence she'd say with the same cadence, the same tone, and it will be completely abnormal, which is why people didn't understand. She'd say, I want to go make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. After that, I'm going to learn to fly. I wish she would have learned to fly. I'm a pilot. It's magical and calming and soothing and fun. And most of the time, for me anyway, alone. It's I get solitude in the air and it's lovely. I wish she had learned to fly. Anyway, I wanted to share that with you guys. Let's not forget who we're talking about. Let's see. Let me go to Hutch J61 says, do you think the pastor told his congregation to keep quiet on their way out so any possibly incriminating comments would not get recorded? Oh, I hadn't thought of that, Hutch. But yeah, possibly. That's possible. There are microphones in there. It's possible. That's a great question. Good commentary. Lori says, he made people who stayed sign contracts saying they wouldn't leave the church for X amount of time. What? He fired his accountability when they stood up against him. They signed contracts? Guys. Okay, look, if any of you who signed those contracts are watching today, no judgment, man. No judgment. Don't sign contracts to say you're going to go to a church for X amount of time. He's trying to, you know what I bet he was trying to do? I bet he was trying to line up receivables so that he could get a loan. That's what it sounds like to me. Like if I were of a dastardly bent and I were him and I wanted to be able to survive, because remember, church is a business. It's big business. And I'm sorry that that is the case, but it is. And not in all churches, but in many churches, it is big business. And in Solid Rock, to me, it just looks like a business. He was an entrepreneur. If were I in his position, that is what I would do. I would line up receivables and I would get a loan. Don't sign contracts with pastors and churches, man. No, don't do that. And those of you who did, it's understandable that you did, man. It's understandable. There's a charismatic guy who, I honestly think, I don't know. There are old sayings that, he could sell a fish water. This guy. So I don't blame you for doing it. I'm just like, don't do that anymore. Okay. I can't believe that is the case. Withal says he groomed her since 14. Yeah, a lot of people have said that, and I think that they are not lying. I think that is the case. All right, let's go back to Acrobat over here. This is a timeline that Robbie Harvey posted on Facebook that I wanted to go over with you guys. And I think that I'm hoping that tomorrow's documents from the sheriff's office will show a little bit more detailed timeline in the last couple of days of her life. And after this, we're going to get into some of the police files and then the affidavits. Real quick, there's one other thing that I prepared that, I should show this one first, real quick. This was a post that I saw on Facebook. We watched, and the reason I didn't redact any names or anything is because they're all in public groups, and they are people are standing up and wanting to be known. But we watched a grown man groom a youth member for years. Speaking of Withal's comment, right? We watched him destroy her mentally. We watched him destroy his own family during the process. We watched him play God over a congregation for over a decade. He is a true wolf in sheep's clothing. He has stayed untouchable. He has put himself at the top of everything. He's gotten away with all of his wrongdoings. I am so sorry, Mica Miller. You deserved better. You deserved our help and our love. I will carry this guilt forever, knowing I should have done so much more. I can't change the past, but I will not stay quiet any longer. To all of the old SRM members, I hope you feel the same. Enough is enough. We have to bring this man down from the pulpit. And this comment just rang, it just rang important to me. I am a person, I do not have regrets. I feel like a regret, that emotion is something that we can choose to feel. And over the course of many years of practice, I just don't feel regret ever. And same thing with jealousy. I just never feel that anymore. There are some emotions that you can choose not to feel. So I hope that Lindsay here will not carry her guilt forever. I hope that she will give herself the grace that she deserves and understand that she wasn't to blame here, and that she can maybe use this as a learning opportunity for how she might behave in another circumstance with somebody else. I think I'm a person of faith. I think that Mica Miller has fought the good fight, and it is my faith and my prayer that she is with God and out of this monster's grasp. That's what my hope is. But I think that this is a good reminder to us all to try to remember we don't need to feel guilty about this. Give ourselves some grace and learn and see if we can become better people through it. Okay? I don't know that Lindsay is watching, but you deserve not to feel guilty about this. You're doing good work now. Let's see. We've got one more comment here. With all asks, Gavin, do you think his ex-wife might speak up? I don't know. I wouldn't if I were her. They also, they might have a non-disparagement agreement. You never know. Never know. Tell it to Elle. Elle's going to tell it to us. Regret is a thing that's hard sometimes. I was in a situation similar, and I often regret that, but I am so much more thankful to be here telling y'all that. I wish Mica was too. That is well said. Thank you very much. I lived with one regret for many years and then decided I would no longer regret it. And that regret, I had to just tell myself, Gavin, you were 13 years old. When that thing happened, and it's not like it's any big mystery. I was at a sleepover with my best friend who was dying, and he knew he was dying, and I hadn't figured that out yet. He would be dead within the next couple of years, and he wanted to tell me something that was really important to him, and I couldn't hear it. I just couldn't hear it. And I told him, shut up. I don't want to hear it. Stop talking about that kind of thing. He tried and tried, and I just wouldn't do it. And I lived with that regret for a long time until I decided, listen, Gavin, you were 13 years old, man. You weren't equipped for that. It's perfectly fine that you made that mistake, and you're a better man for it now. And he'll tell me later when it's my turn to go. That's when he'll tell me, and I will know, and it'll be fine. So, for me, regret is an emotion that I've decided not to indulge. Okay, so getting back over to Robbie Harvey's timeline. Let's just... Robbie Harvey has done some great work watching some of the old servants. I can't do it. I honestly just can't do it. I would rather look at crime scene photos and autopsy photos than listen to that guy talk. Pastor John Paul, February 4th, preaches a sermon on Korah and Moses and how it's wrong to rise against religious leaders. Oh, dang. Oh, my goodness. Hey, everybody, I'm your religious leader. It is wrong. It is wrong to rise against religious leaders, and here's the Bible telling you so. It's so funny. Okay, February 23rd, Pastor John Paul files for spousal support. Yep. On the 25th, in another sermon to his congregation, the pastor says a mentally ill person doesn't know they're sick. Quote, you have to trust people around you. The thing that's sick is your mind, and your mind is what you need to realize, that you're sick. Okay, March 10th, the pastor preaches a sermon and reveals he went through 2 years of messages on his wife's phone. He found that 18 people reached out saying to her, if you ever want to talk about your husband, you can talk to me and I'll keep it confidential. Visibly upset, the pastor followed up with, that's a demon talking. So he called members of his congregation demons. They could tell. People could see it. And, in true Christian fashion, and it's not, certainly not, this is not reserved for Christians, in true moral fashion, in true ethical fashion, in true fashion of people who love one another, they were reaching out. And he calls them demons. March 10th, pastor says to his congregation, one thing I'm going to preach about is getting rich, strong, healthy, and finding a hot wife that loves Jesus while wearing his wedding ring. Same, March 10th, the pastor tells his congregation that his wife was in the hospital, and as soon as she got out, she left him. She gets out and she just leaves, completely leaves me, leaves everything, drains the bank account, and just goes. Guess what? While you're talking bad about me out there, I'm building a school in Africa for over 100 kids to be able to be fed. Okay, first off, that was Mica's. That was her mission, not his. So there's obviously consternation going on in the congregation. Congregational consternation is what we got here, people. Consternation in the congregation, and he's feeling it, and he's standing up on that stage and preaching to them that why they're wrong and why he's so great. March 12th, his request for spousal support is dismissed. There's no explanation as to why. On the 17th, Pastor John Paul tells the story of a pastor whose wife left him for a member of his staff. The pastor had to hire a third-party company to find her. Once he found her, divorce papers were drawn up. When the time came to sign the papers, the pastor couldn't do it because the Bible says divorce is wrong. And if she wanted out, she would have to leave him. Guys, okay, we're not going to get theological here. He says as he's about to get theological. Okay? Listen, people draw conclusions because of things that they read in the Bible. And I do it. Everybody does it. We're looking for answers to things, right? And we've got our scriptures to turn to. But I don't even think you're out of the books of Moses before you learn under what circumstances it's okay to divorce. And remember that video that Mica made about, she said the same thing. The Bible says divorce is bad, but abuse is bad also. So that feels to me like he had her believing that. No, divorce is bad. Never mind that both of us have been divorced already, but divorce is bad. But if you go into, I think that's probably Deuteronomy. There's a whole list. There's a whole list of reasons why the children of Israel were like, yeah, you can divorce for this. And I imagine based on other things we're about to read, she qualified. Man, he had her just believing him. March 17th, in a Facebook post made by Mica's sister, Sierra Francis, we're going to read an affidavit of hers in just a second. says she keeps an eye on her phone, quote, for fear of my sister's safety due to others' behaviors toward her. She goes on to mention the sermon from March 17th and calls out the congregation of Solid Rock Church. March 18th, Mica posts a video encouraging others. She says, I'm just making sure my heart doesn't have any unforgiveness, bitterness, resentment, just forgiveness and hope for the future and peace. And we shared that video yesterday. It's a beautiful video. On the 22nd, Mica posts another video suggesting she was being abused physically and mentally. She also said God hates divorce. We just talked about this. But how does God feel about abuse? She also suggests her husband forced her to take illegal drugs. On the 16th, she files for spousal support. On the 23rd, a hearing notice was sent out for Mica's request. A court date for June 5th was set. On the 27th, she is found dead. And on the 28th, Pastor JP announces to his congregation at the end of the service that his wife was dead. We watched that yesterday. Also reminds the congregation of her mental illness. And then Mica's sister that day posts on Facebook saying, don't listen to the false stories being told about her. May 2nd, in an interview with ABC 15, which we watched yesterday. Go back and watch that video. She was probably the greatest wife anyone could ask for. What? After everything that he's said in his... Yeah. He also once again points out her mental illness. So let's not forget this timeline of events. Okay? All right. Let's close that. This is where we really want to go. Okay, guys, these are incident reports that were written by police officers. I'm going to show two of them. I've shared this on the fish tank. If you go to my website and click on this little fish up in the top corner, that will take you over to the fish tank, which is our group on Facebook where we talk about the cases we cover and other things. And you can tell me all sorts of things. But I shared these files. So if you go over to the fish tank and click on files, here are those files along with one other that I shared earlier. So please go ahead and go over there if you want to download these files. Okay, so it was filed on March 11th, 2024. Dispatch was 10:22, so that would have been 10:22 a.m. The police officer departed at 11:33. I think that's the departure time from the scene. He doesn't say when he arrived. Our victim's name is Mica Miller. Relationship to the subject, it's redacted, but I'm sure that says spouse or wife or something like that. Says where she lives, and then the subject is all redacted out. But I think we know who the subject is here. Okay? If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I believe that this is the... I believe we're talking about JP here. Okay. On March 11th, 2024, Horry County PD officers were dispatched to this address in Myrtle Beach area of Horry County for a report of a razor blade. By the way, am I saying Horry correctly? It's not Horry County, right? It's Horry County. A razor blade being placed in her tire at the location of this. Okay. Responding officers spoke with victim one, who stated that this is the second time a razor has deflated her tire in the last week. She stated that she was at Springmaid Pier around 1:30, so 1:30 in the morning. She stated as she was leaving, she heard a pop and noticed that a piece of metal was protruding from her tire. She made it home and found the tire had almost fully deflated by that point. Why she drove on that, she shouldn't. Okay, it doesn't matter. Responding officer observed the tire, and upon removal of the metal piece, it was found that the metal was a tire deflation device that can be purchased online. It wasn't a knife or a razor. It was a device specifically made to puncture tires. Okay. Victim one believes that subject one. So we're going to say Mica believes that JP may have placed or had the item placed in her tire. Then a long redaction, she has noticed strange activity and what she believes as people following or watching her. Now, before we listen to JP, who says, oh, she's crazy, she believes that people are following her, that is her schizophrenia or whatever, right? Her tire had been popped with a device specifically made to pop a tire twice. Okay? She stated that JP has a history of similar actions against her. Evidence was not sufficient to prove that JP placed the razor device under the tire. Nothing further. Okay? So that was the end of that. But then we move on to this incident report that happened at 11:46. Now remember, this is like what, an hour later? 10:22 to 11:46, less than an hour and a half later. An officer arrives at 12:41, finds the victim, who it's redacted, but this was released to me by the Horry County Police Department, and it was Mica. Okay? All right, on 3/11/2024, he responded. He arrived at 12:41 p.m. to this place, which is East Coast Honda dealership in Myrtle Beach section of Horry County, in reference to a harassment. Upon my arrival, I spoke with the victim, which advised she was just out with one of our officers getting a report for an unknown person slashing her tires. She advised the officer helped change her tire, and then she went to the gas station for gas and then straight to East Coast Honda to get her tire fixed. She advised while at the gas station, the suspect in this incident showed up next to her at the pump trying to talk to her. She told him to go away. She does not want to talk. And then when she pulled her phone out to record, he sped off. The victim then leaves and goes to East Coast Honda, and the suspect showed up again. Long redaction. While I was out with the victim, While I was out with the victim, she received a no-caller ID call, which ended up being the suspect. The suspect was advised that the victim does not want any further contact, and if he proceeds, then warrants may possibly be written up. The suspect acknowledged the advisory by saying okay, and he says that is on body-worn camera. The victim advised me she was afraid for her life. The victim advised me she was afraid for her life. This makes me question the whole self-inflicted thing, that she was afraid for her life. She also advised she blocks his numbers and still gets calls and texts from him on other numbers. After clearing the call and my departure from the Honda dealership, the victim had texted me and stated that the mechanics had found a tracking device on her vehicle. About an hour later, she had notified me that she was at the magistrate's office trying to get a restraining order. I asked the victim if I could come get the GPS from her, and she said yes. While I was standing out front of the magistrate's office, this is the best part, with the victim, a white in color Honda Accord had slow rolled down Scipio Lane in front of the magistrate's office, and the victim stated that was the suspect in her car driving by. The vehicle then sped up and drove off. Wait a minute. It wasn't JP. The suspect in her car. Oh, I've been reading this wrong all day. The suspect in her car driving by. Oh my goodness. So there... Wow. The vehicle then sped up and drove off. Nothing further. Oh my goodness. I've been reading that wrong all day. Oh, I want to hear what you guys think of this. Give me some comments, guys. This is killing me. Oh. Wow. Ellie Wright asking, is it the girlfriend? Yeah, do I have a picture of that? I did in my last video. I don't think I have it up here. Is that possible? Yeah, Jamie says I read it wrong too. Maybe it was JP's new girlfriend. Hey guys, remember if you want me to see your comments, just add a GF to the comments so that I see it. Okay. All right. Wow. All right. The last document that I want to show you guys tonight. I'm gonna have to digest that, man. I'm gonna have to digest that. The last document I want to show you tonight is this, which is an affidavit filed in Horry County in the matter of the estate of Mica Miller. It is filed by Sierra Francis, who is Mica's sister. I understand that her brother Nathaniel filed a similar affidavit. I haven't actually got my hands on that one, but this one is also telling. Give me just a second here. All right. Okay, Sierra Francis, petitioner, personally appeared before me. Let's see. Personally appeared before me, Sierra Francis, who, after first being duly sworn, deposes and states as follows. By the way, who is the... Barbara Vane is the notary here. All right. I am the petitioner of the proceedings which are pending before the probate court as to the appointment of a special administrator for my sister's estate. They do not want JP to be the administrator of her estate. I am Micah's younger sister, having been raised by our parents, Michael Francis and Angelita Salas, with our siblings, Nathaniel, Destiny, Anna, and Abby. That reminds me, by the way, I reached out to Abby. Well, I reached out to all of them, to Destiny, Anna, Abby, and Sierra, just on the off chance that they might want to talk. And I heard back from Abby, who put me in touch with her attorney, who is in charge of scheduling these things. I doubt that I'm going to get them on any of them on the channel, but I want you to know that I have reached out to the family because I think we all want to support them. Right? We all want to support them in their quest to get justice for their sister. Because while it appears, at least for now, that this guy is not direct or let's say criminally responsible, that's what people are saying. That's what investigator or the ME is saying so far. I still believe he is civilly responsible. He led her there. So we want to be supportive of the family for sure. We ultimately settled in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina in 2007 with our mom and stepdad. I was aware of Mica's family dynamics and relationship with her husband, respondent John Paul Miller, and stepchildren Selah, Asher, Logan, Eli, and Zach. That might be Selah. I don't know. Mica and I spoke every few days, texting daily, so much as to even create playlists together. Mica would drive to visit me and my family in Gaffney at least once a month. I know my sister to have expressed the abuse and violence against her by her husband. I just want to highlight that, right? I know my sister to have expressed the abuse and violence against her by her husband to others, including family members and members of the church congregation. Let's remember there was consternation in that congregation. 18 people at least who reached out and said, do you want to talk about your husband? Paragraph 7, Mica told me that there were people following her, keeping track of where she went, and we read the police reports. Those people were following her. GPS device on her car. She thought that Mr. Miller hired people to follow her, so maybe it was that. Mr. Miller later confirmed this during a sermon I watched. I'm sure she has saved that video. I hope she has. Mica confided in me that Mr. Miller was moving assets that were in his name, such as his vehicle, changing the deed to their house to the church, transferring interest in Crocodile Rocks to one of his sons. In February 2024, Mr. Miller removed my sister's personal items from the home they shared while she was admitted to mental health facility, and left them at the apartment of Diana Niosi. My sister was not aware that her personal possessions had been removed from her residence until she was released from the hospital. Prior to admission, Mica was gathering and sorting the evidence she had to bring to her attorney for filing for divorce to support her claims against Mr. Miller and as to his abuse, character, his paramours, and associates he, quote, paid off or blackmailed. Close that. While at the facility, those documents, emails, files, etc., were removed from her phone, personal laptop, vehicle, and purse and never recovered. Further, Mica was unable to access her iCloud account, email, or Facebook profile. Mr. Miller continued using at least one of Mica's accounts, causing any recipient to believe it was Mica's communications. Mica talked about what she wanted her life to be like following her divorce from Mr. Miller, having traveled for a church mission this past fall. We know she went to Kenya. From October 15th through October 27th, Mica was intending to participate in additional missions, even to live part-time in Kenya. Mica recently shipped some of her personal items to Kenya in preparation of her stay there. My sister was hopeful for her future after filing for divorce from John Paul. My sister also expressed to me that she was fearful that she would not make it to the divorce and that her life would be taken from her. It is my belief, based on conversations with my sister, that she told multiple people, including other family members. Mica stated to me on many occasions, if I end up with a bullet in my head, it was not by me, it was JP. By the way, and I'm not saying that this is the case with Mica, but sometimes there is a revenge component when somebody does this to themselves. For now, I'm choosing to believe the medical examiner, but keeping an open mind. Either way, I think the JP is responsible. Mica forwarded a family group text notifying us that Mr. Miller was served the divorce papers on April 25th. On April 27th, my sister, Mica A. Miller, was found dead as a result of a gunshot wound in Lumberton, North Carolina. I have the full support of my family in my request to be appointed as special administrator. I take this request and my potential appointment in this role very seriously. Yeah, I'm not sure what to think here, guys. I think I'm just going to keep my mind open. To me, it doesn't matter if she did it to herself or if somebody else did it to her. I think the responsibility lies in her abuser. So I'm going to be curious about the things that they did investigatively. There are telltale signs when somebody shoots themselves. Things do look a little bit different than what you think in the movies. And so there are telltale signs that a good investigator would see that would say that points to this. But I want to know toxicology, and I want to know, did they bag her hands and test GSW? Were there those kinds of things that were done, and I want to know about them. And either way, I think we all can agree that we're going to be supportive of her family in their quest to get some measure of justice, even if they can't get it through the criminal justice system, some measure of justice for the life of their daughter and sister and aunt and so forth. Uh, let's see. Let's see. Going back, or did Mica have another vehicle and JP was driving it? It said her. It stated that the suspect was driving by and it was her driving. So I don't know, man. I don't know. With all, Ann says, Gavin, I saw a video and one of Micah's friends spoke and suggested he would have most likely have someone else do the dirty work, like a hire or something. Well, that would be trackable. That would be trackable. Lori adds, the same girlfriend whose husband died under suspicious circumstances. Yeah, and I haven't talked about that much here on the channel because I haven't found... Well, in fairness, there's just been so much going on. It's not that I haven't found it, it's that I haven't looked for anything beyond what people have said online. But I'm aware that he died. I mean, I saw part of the funeral. And in true JP fashion, it was all about him, man. It was all about him. Drive me up the wall. Drives me up the wall. Brianna says, I hope more people speak up for her that were in the church. I do too. And I think the fact that he's been relieved of his duties, says volumes. I also think, like, what is it? Like, you guys know that the website is suspended. This is a very old style Apache error that shows up. And so I at first thought that this was just, they didn't pay their bill, but it does appear that the website is down. But yeah, I think that church is in for a world of hurt right now. Let's see. Cheryl and Dale, you dirty rat. I love you. Thank you for being here. You just emailed me Nathaniel's affidavit. Sherilyn, you are amazing. Do you guys know Sherilyn? Of course you do, because she's amazing. Give me just a second. Just a second here. There it is. Let me open this up. Let's see. See if I can bring this over. Guys, yeah, just be patient with me here for a second. Sherilyn's got the hookup for me. We're going to save that there. And this one, we're going to save there. And that way I'll be able to open them up and you guys will be able to see it. Let's see what Nathaniel said. Okay. Heading back over to Acrobat. Cheryl and Dale, you are awesome. Don't let anybody tell you different. And if they do, you let me know because I'll have a word with them. All right. So let's read Nathaniel's. Sherilyn, you are the best. Oh my goodness. Honestly. Okay. I need to stop singing the praises of my buddy Cheryl. All right. Here is his affidavit. Personally appeared before me, Nathaniel Francis, who after being duly sworn deposes and states as follows. This comes from protestia.com. Thank you to protestia.com also for publishing this. Okay, I am the brother of petitioner C.R. Francis and decedent Mica A. Miller in the proceedings which are pending before the probate court as to the appointment of C.R. Francis as special administrator for my sister Mica's estate. I am Mica's only brother, having been raised by our parents, Michael Francis, Angelita Salas. That might be Angelita. I think that it doesn't matter, with our siblings, Destiny, Sierra, Anna, and Abby in Wichita, Kansas. My mom and my siblings, apart from our older sister, Destiny, moved to Horry County in 2007. I was aware of Mica's family dynamics and relationship with her husband, John Paul Miller, and stepchildren, Asher, Selah, Eli, Zach and Logan. I saw Mica frequently as we both lived in Horry County and spoke to her on a weekly basis. I was also a member, give me my thing. I was also a member of Solid Rock, where both John Paul and Mica worked for several years until I left the congregation due to behaviors I observed. Good on ya, young man. I don't know if you're a young man, but Mica confided in me that John Paul moved her belongings out of their marital residence and in with Diana Neosi. That's the second time we've read that name. So that he could keep an eye on her. Following this, Mica then retained an attorney for the purposes of filing for divorce from her husband and joined a new church. I have received communications in the past from John Paul Miller stating that he knew no reason for divorce but wanted a separation and gave reasons why. The email I received on April 3rd, 2023 included a forwarded email from Mr. Miller to Mica dated April 1, 23 to an email address that did not appear to be Mica's. Just 2 weeks later, Mica forwarded me an email from Mr. Miller dated April 15th, 2023 to her correct email address as shown. Mica told me of legal documents she prepared so that I would be able to make decisions for her well-being. However, those documents were not located. The only legal documents discovered appointed Mr. Miller as her power of attorney. Mica made several police reports over the last few weeks of her tires being slashed and tracking devices found in her car. We read 2 of them. If he'd said several, then there are others, probably with other police departments. I think I might start sending some FOIAs to other police departments, see what I can find. Okay. In Mr. Miller's email forwarded to me, he apologizes to Mica for the tires and causing damage to her vehicle. What a stupid criminal. All criminals, everybody, all criminals are stupid. Every last one of them. And people like this bear the brunt of their criminality, but all criminal. I've never met a genius criminal. They're only in the movies. Okay. What an idiot. Mr. Miller's email to my sister continued to state that he was angry when Mica confided or put her family before him, and that made him want to hurt her. Oh my goodness. Do you remember the case that I covered, 2 months ago, about the man who was basically jealous of his girlfriend's infant child? And so that woman killed the child? He was angry when Mica confided or put her family before him and made him want to hurt her. In his words, when someone hurts me, I try to hurt them back rather than forgive. And instead of me forgiving you, I just attack and try to cause pain. Please, 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 Francis family, please hold this man accountable in court. And I know that papers were served, so you guys don't need me to tell you what to do. You're obviously awesome. And you're doing it at a time when you shouldn't have to be doing this stuff. You should be mourning your sister. Paragraph 12, Mica told me on numerous occasions that she feared John Paul and just wanted to escape him. Our family is very supportive of one another, and especially in this time of grieving, I believe that my sister is the appropriate person to step into Mica's shoes and continue what was started by her, both to secure her assets and to determine her portion of the marital estate. Wow. Guys. Let me just see a couple things. I was thinking misuse, misplacement of the pronoun. It's possible that it was him. Yeah, it totally possible. It could have been JP. I'm just now wondering. Just wondering. It's not unheard of for an abuser to be jealous of everyone in their victim's life, including their children. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, I brought up one case that I'm aware of, but I can think of multiple. There's one in Oil City, Pennsylvania, where a little boy was murdered and put into a bag because a guy was angry at the little boy's mom. They're just, yeah. Guys, thank you very much for joining me tonight. We've got 810 people here today. That might be a record for my channel. I'm so glad that you're here. I am, I know that they don't need my approval or anything, but just, I'm just admire Mica's family, her sisters, her brother, for their grit, for their grace. And I don't mean not their grace, their gracefulness. I just admire them so much, and I just want to help them as much as we possibly can to get justice for Mica. Tell It to Elle says, what are your thoughts on Mica's obituary? Yeah, I read that in the video last time, Elle. It was very clearly written by him. And like it was obviously something to like just show what a great person he was. It's just very narcissistic. As a layperson, non-psychologist, psychiatrist, I just was like, Narcissus, how is that reflection, man? That's how I felt about the obituary. Hey, I think that this way of getting my attention by using the GF thing has really, really helped everybody. Thank you very much. I never would have been able to go through all the comments. We have 844 comments right now. So I think maybe this is the way that we're going to do this moving forward. Of course, I deeply appreciate the super chats. Thank you to Brianna, Autumn, and MD 2020. You guys are awesome. That really goes to help me with my dream of being a full-time YouTuber. And if anybody wants to support me in any other way, speaking of which, Michi's Crochet Nook says, thanks for your hard work. I need to get rid of that. Sorry. She says, thanks for your hard work. Thank you, Michi. I deeply appreciate it. Thank you all for doing that. And I also want to thank my mods for being here, guys. If you go back to my website, let's go on over here and you click on the support tab, scroll down to the bottom, scroll by everything that's about me and scroll to that button right there. Jamie and Autumn do amazing work. You can support them by buying them a coffee here. Of course, I'm always extremely grateful for my patrons over on Patreon and for my channel members here. Please visit my website, join us over in the fish tank, and we will continue. I think tomorrow we're going to talk about Mica again because the sheriff's office said they're going to be releasing some new stuff. So if you haven't subscribed already, please do, and I will see you tomorrow. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining me today. Good night. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.